13 federal judges have announced they will no longer hire Columbia University graduates as law clerks. None from Columbia at all. These are prestigious positions, right? This is what law students want to get, as a clerkship with a federal judge. Very prestigious. Now, this applies to people whether they were involved in the encampments or not. Now, as someone who's been incredibly critical of the protesters and of Columbia, where I went to law school, I still think this feels like an overreaction. The judges, from appellate court judges to the U.S. Court of Federal Claims, sent a joint letter to Columbia's president. They called the Ivy League campus, quote, an incubator of bigotry. Of course, this comes in the wake of 112 people arrested on Columbia's campus last week, participating in the illegal anti-Israel protests. And some of them took part in a campus building takeover. The NYPD had to be called in to remove them. The judge's letters, reading in part, freedom of speech protects protest, not trespass, and certainly not acts of threats of violence or terrorism. Recent events demonstrate that ideological homogeneity throughout the entire institution of Columbia has destroyed its ability to train future leaders of a pluralistic society and intellectually diverse country. Okay, I think some of that is true, but it's sort of guilt by association. The judges go on to say we've lost confidence in Columbia as an institution of higher education. Now, I have made clear the illegal protests on Columbia's campus are not a First Amendment issue. I've supported the arrests of the protesters who've broken the law. I've supported the police who were forced into the position of having to make those arrests instead of being elsewhere in the city working on a number of other issues that demand police attention. So you might assume I would support the judges on this kind of hardline stance that they've taken against Columbia. I don't. I've even gone as far as to say I'm embarrassed to be a graduate of Columbia Law School. But isn't what these judges are doing similar to the protesters who disapproves of the Israeli government's actions, taking it out on Jewish students on Columbia's campus? The protesters now ruining graduation ceremonies for everyone because of their gripes. They're ruining the experience for everyone else who worked hard to get there. But again, aren't these judges also ruining it for everyone because of a group of troublemakers? Listen, if you're a federal judge and you see a student like Kimani James, one of the leaders of Columbia's pro-Palestinian protests, make a comment like this:
Zionists, they don't deserve to live comfortably, let alone Zionists don't deserve to live. Zionists, they shouldn't live in this world.
Yeah, every right. In fact, I would say it's an obligation to say, I don't want that guy working in our office. And if the students signed that ridiculous letter from members of the Law Review, the prestigious part of the law school, the Law Review, who whined about having to take finals after being so traumatized by the police clearing out Hamilton Hall, of course I wouldn't want to hire them either. But why should a normal, smart student from Columbia be punished? It kind of feels like virtue signaling. But joining me now, someone who may disagree with me on this, John Malcolm served as Deputy Assistant AG. He's currently the Vice President for the Institute for Constitutional Government at the Heritage Foundation. John, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. What do you think I'm getting wrong here?
Sure. Well, a few things. First of all, I also have a pedigree at Columbia. My father went there, I went there, my mother went to Barnard, and our daughter went to Columbia.
We can commiserate together about
We can,
this. Yeah.
and I agree with you about all of the problems that have been at Columbia. What you said, though, is that the students who will be coming in, starting in the class of 2024, are being punished because of what some troublemakers did. And I don't think that's accurate. There are individually suffering. There's no question about that. But it's not because of what the troublemakers did. It was the university's response to the troublemakers, and it was the incubation that went on, or indoctrination, if you will, that led to the students doing what they did. Look, anytime you want to make a political protest, I mean, if you want to ban a product or you want to have a boycott of a restaurant because of a corporate policy, there are going to be individuals who worked at that corporation, maybe worked in the restaurant, who had nothing to do with that policy, and they could be harmed by that action. You are doing it to try to effectuate change at the top. So what these judges are doing is saying, look, this place is now inhospitable to conservatives. It's an incubator of bigotry. It does not allow diverse standpoints. It squelches them at every turn to the point of making Jews, people of, feel hostile and threatened on campus. If they are using the leverage that they have to try to get change at the top by basically saying, if you agree with us conservatives that this is an inhospitable place, and if you hope to clerk for judges like us, maybe you should apply somewhere else, and ultimately Columbia undergraduate and law school would suffer some reputational harm, and that might prompt change at the top, which
I
is
hear
what
you,
is
I hear
needed.
you about that, but again, there are a lot of people who are so angry at the Columbia president. I mean, again, the Columbia president is the one who, right at the outset, sent the police in, right? The protesters went nuts. How could they send the police in? You know, getting furious about that. Then I agree. I was critical of the university for trying to negotiate with, these folks who are really sort of, I'm not going to use the word terrorist because in this context, it would take on a different meaning. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.